Now I can do the same thing this time for enthalpy. So number 2. Enthalpy is H. And I am looking for that equation. And I'm going to call this my giraffe equation. Okay, so I am looking for dH equals TdS plus VdP plus mu dN. And that I'm calling my giraffe equation. Now, how did I define my enthalpy? I defined my enthalpy as the energy needed to create the system plus work done to make room for it under constant pressure conditions. So I know, so I'm going to use pink. So I know that enthalpy was defined as U plus P V. In other words, enthalpy is the total energy to create the system out of thin air plus put it in the environment. By moving the environment away. Similarly, if we were talking about the annihilation of a process, then what we would do is energy and enthalpy is the energy you recover because of the annihilation of the system and the work done by the collapsing atmosphere. So in this case, we know that the enthalpy is a function of H is a function of S, P, and N. That's going to be vital in our understanding. So what are the steps we now, in this case, need to follow? So step 1, we keep H constant. Step 2, we keep P constant. And step 3, we keep N constant. Now, following the same recipe as before, I can use my same equation number A now for these particular different steps. So equation A will now be written as ds equal ds1 plus ds2 plus ds3. So in this case, may I say I can multiply this side with dH and dP and dN. And because these are during steps 1, 2, and 3, I can rewrite this as partial S1 over partial H1 dH plus partial S over partial P, step 2 dP plus partial S over partial N during step 3 dN will be the same as ds. Now, unfortunately, we do not now know what ds over H is, but we have things that we've done that may help us. So let me think about that individually. So let me say this is number 1, this is number 2, and this is number 3. So if I take my first expression, ds over dh, what is ds? ds is just q over t. And what is dh? It is just energy. So may I just write it as joules? What is the unit for q? Joules per t divided by joules. This means joules and joules will get canceled, and I am left with just 1 over t. Number 2. Partial S over partial P. What is this? This is joules over Kelvin divided by newtons per meter squared, or Newton meters per Kelvin divided by newtons per meter squared, or I can write this as Newton meters per Kelvin times meter squared by over newtons, which implies newtons will get canceled, and I will be left with meters cubed over Kelvin, or V over T. And what is partial S over partial N? Ooh, luckily, we have done this before. That is the same as 1C, which was just equal to minus mu over T. Plugging all of these values in this expression above, ds, what do I get? ds equal 1 over t dh plus v over t dp plus minus mu over t dn, t ds equal dh plus v dp minus mu dn, or since I was looking for my giraffe equation, I can rewrite this as dh equal t ds minus v dp plus mu dn. And that is exactly the same as my giraffe equation. Woohoo! Now, before I move on, I'm going to rename these as 3A, 3B, and 3C, which is going to be important next time.